program, leveraging the CFMC's impact beyond grant making for nonprofit capital loan projects, developing special grant programs like supporting our neighbors in response to shifting policies, building disaster resilience by creating the COAD, community organizations active in disasters, at that role at the Community Foundation, supporting initiatives like SIDE, the Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative. Dan often says that philanthropy is about people helping people, and he has led with that belief every day. He has helped people realize their philanthropic vision and translated that into impact both today and for the long term. He has helped foster a culture of generosity that extends far beyond the Foundation's walls and remind us that we all have a role to play in building healthy, safe, vibrant communities. Throughout times of uncertainty and crisis, Dan has been a steady presence. During natural disasters, economic challenges, and periods of profound change, he guided the Foundation with wisdom, empathy, and optimism. He understands that leadership is about bringing people together, creating opportunities, and empowering others to success. Dan's greatest contribution is not found in the numbers. It's found in the trust he has built with donors, with nonprofit partners, with community leaders, and with all of us fortunate enough to serve alongside him. Dan, your leadership has embodied the Foundation's promise to be here for good. You have shown us that philanthropy is not simply an act of giving. It is an enduring commitment to one another and to the future we hope to create together. As I approach the conclusion of my 8-year term on the board, because 6 was not enough, I have taken time to reflect on my experience with the Community Foundation and the privilege of working alongside Dan. Several key observations stand out to me. The CFMC staff and board demonstrate a deep understanding of the evolving challenges faced by Monterey County residents, and is consistently thoughtful in determining the unique role the CFMC can play in leading or supporting work necessary to address those needs. During the COVID-19 pandemic, with Dan at the helm of the COVID-19 Collaborative, the CFMC played an instrumental role in convening a diverse set of stakeholders to identify opportunities for collaboration and to provide meaningful support to our residents and our workforce. The CFMC also served as the coordinator and fiscal agent for VIDA, the Virus Integrated Distribution of Aid project, which trained more than 100 community health workers to serve as educators and navigators, ensuring that our residents had access to critical testing and treatment services. Our county has also endured its fair share of natural disasters, from fires in the Carmel Valley and Big Sur regions to the Pajaro flood and the Vista fire in Moss Landing. These events have left communities devastated and in need of support as they began the difficult process of cleanup and rebuilding. Dan led the Community Foundation as philanthropic first responder, swiftly establishing relief funds so that people could quickly assist neighbors in need. Dan also strengthened local emergency planning efforts and resilience by establishing the COAD, community organizations active in disaster role at the Foundation. Through these efforts and many more, I cannot overstate my appreciation for Dan's leadership, his ability to inspire action, his steadfast commitment to his staff and community, and his remarkable sense of humor that have left a lasting impression on me. I've seen firsthand how highly respected he is in the philanthropic sector, both locally and across the state, and I am truly fortunate to have worked alongside him for so many years. Thank you, Dan. So Dan, you have so many attributes, and some of them are listed on this beautiful slide behind me. You truly are one of a kind, special, unique, and a very tough act to follow. Some would even say a unicorn. Literally, you are here for good, or at least a few more months. And now it's my privilege to invite others to come up here and say a few words about Dan.
But we did, in the interview process, Dan emerged as a top contender. You know, we were able to be competitive with salary, and we needed to figure out a way to entice his commitment. And we, during the interview process, found out that he enjoyed golf. So we knew we had the hook. And so I asked Dan a lot of questions about his golf game. I don't know if you remember this, Dan, or not. And I've interviewed some of your friends here tonight about your golf game. So we are going to disclose something that took place here. Dan told me his handicap was in the low teens, 3, 13, or 14. Exactly. You got it, David? I don't know. I would have voted no, had I known his handicap was sub 10. Because you don't get a sub 10 handicap unless you're obsessed with the game. So anyhow, I think you've been busted here, but it's too late to, change our minds. Anyhow, so Dick Borda, he took the lead to negotiate with Dan, and in a day or so, Fumata Bianca. That's right, white smoke billowed through the chimney at Grande Tierra. We made the decision, Dan. And Dan hit the ground running. I love it. Dan said this to me. He was jonesing for the job. And boy, did he jump in. So I'll share with you some of the things he accomplished. Early in his tenure, he presented a slideshow that produced his vision, goals, and objectives for being in charge. All of those goals and objectives were measurable to a degree or another, but most importantly, we had clear direction for the foundation. He charged ahead and met key people throughout our community, the far reaches of Monterey County. So I don't know if Ann and Jay Brown are here, but Ann and Jay Brown had a ranch in the furthest southwest corner of Monterey County. And I'm smiling inside right now. I'm not going to share everything with you, but Dan made it there. I felt like we got lost myself. But I think Dan also communicated right away that he wanted to change the focus from assets to impacts. He pivoted from asking potential donors for money to building relationships, finding alignment, and philanthropic values. And he said the assets would come, and boy did they ever. He concentrated efforts on the underrepresented Salinas Valley and southern Monterey County. He forged relationships with key leaders, including Bob and Stu Antle, Mike and Mary O'Rodrick, and their networks. From his outreach efforts, Southern Monterey County Foundation and the Northern Monterey County Foundation were formed. Those were important penetrations into that market. Dan made that happen. Dick Borda was Dan's first chair, and I was the vice chair at the time. I just want to call out that how much I appreciated Dick's leadership. He set up a great collaborative culture that extended into my service with Dan. Dan was an excellent partner and a mentor. I don't know if you know this about Dan, but I think he might have a PhD in English, and I'm a farmer. So a lot of times we could have a conversation and he would correct my grammar. Anyway, I'll close by saying how much past years have appreciated Dan's continued engagement. He's created a tradition. Are you correcting my grammar already? He's created a tradition that I hope continues in Dan's absence. And Dan, I hope you find time to get to a 10 handicap. You son of a gun. Thank you, everybody.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Johnson. I'm the president and CEO for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Monterey County. And it's a true honor for me to be here tonight to recognize and celebrate a remarkable leader, someone that is a community builder, someone I'm very proud to call a personal friend, Dan Baldwin. At the Boys and Girls Club in Monterey County, we've experienced his leadership firsthand. Dan's always understood that investing in young people is the best is the best investment people can make. Champion organizations like ours, not only because he wanted recognition, but because he believed in helping others succeed. In fact, if Dan had his way tonight, this probably wouldn't even be about him. He'd rather have spent the evening talking about remarkable nonprofits serving Monterey County and the generous philanthropists who make their work possible, and the dedicated people working every day to strengthen our communities. That's simply who he is. As Dan begins this new chapter, whoever follows him will inherit a thriving organization, guided with a clear mission and supported by an exceptional team, and well-positioned for an even brighter future. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of years of thoughtful leadership, sound judgment, and an unwavering commitment to serving others. Dan, your legacy will be measured not only by the success of the Community Foundation, but by the stronger nonprofits, healthier communities, and brighter futures you've helped create across Monterey County. On behalf of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Monterey County and the many organizations and people whose lives you've touched, including mine, thank you. Thank you for your vision. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship. And thank you for being kind enough to recommend that golf program. Please join me in celebrating my friend, Dan Baldwin.
I realized quickly that Dan was willing to offer both truly hard lines of wisdom from his work in this field, but also some occasionally completely useless advice. And I needed to toggle between the two. So that's the part of understanding Dan. It's like, oh, that's wise. That's weird. But you've always taken my calls, Dan. No matter how grouchy you say you are, no matter how busy you are. You even, and I know there's a lot of golfers in the room, he even took my call once on the golf course, which I have come to understand. I didn't know that. I don't know if you remember, but you were on the golf course once. And we've been through a lot together. This region has endured, of course, like the rest of the world, COVID, but floods and fires and landslides, and Dan's steadfast responsiveness and our collaboration is not something that happens among colleagues that often, and I'm deeply grateful. All these years, from Iowa to Monterey, the belief that philanthropy can bring together people together to do real good in the world. That's the thing that matters most, and that's what you've protected. You've been our point guard, you've protected what matters, you've had a commitment to solutions, your love of this place, your investment in the field, and your deep belief that when we work together, the whole team wins. You're stepping off the court, but the impact is here for good. But point guards know when to pass the ball, when to celebrate a good game. To Dan, who taught us how to protect what matters, to a career defined not just by the points on the board, but by the people lifted up along the way. To the jazz shows you'll enjoy, the poems you will write, the games you will cheer, the family you will hold even closer, and the health you will cherish. May it include just enough competition to keep you at your best.
Thank you, Susan. That was beautiful. And thank you, everybody. Tonight is really not just about retirement. Tonight is about celebrating a leader who helped shape this community, this foundation, and so many of us who've had the privilege to work alongside. Dan taught us that all relationships matter, details matter, integrity matters, and if you've ever worked with Dan, you know that process is everything. But if you really know Dan, you would know that he has this wonderful, dry sense of humor, and he absolutely, Susan, you're right, could be a little snarky, to say the least. And let's not forget that Dan is a gifted writer with his infamous red pen that made us all better writers. And he's a gifted storyteller, and boy, can he talk. If you've ever been in one of our managers' meetings, you'll know exactly what I mean. So I feel incredibly fortunate after all these years that I can still call on him as a mentor, not just as a mentor, but mostly as a friend. And I know that I'm not the only one that feels this way. Dan has mentored and influenced so many people throughout his career, especially CEOs in the Community Foundation field and nonprofit leaders across our community. His influence is not just in this foundation that he helped build, it lives on in the people that he has mentored, the leaders he had helped shape, and the organizations that are stronger because of him. Dan, thank you for your leadership, your friendship, your snarky sense of humor, and everything that you taught us. You made our community stronger. You made each of us better. Congratulations on a well-earned retirement. We are grateful for everything you have done, and we wish you all the best in this next chapter. And knowing Dan, I have a feeling that retirement will not be slowing him down for very long. Congratulations.
I had the very good fortune to work under Dan for more than 16 years, I'm counting. So here we go. Here's a few. There was a man from Cedar Rapids eating GF with plenty fluids. All are here to say thanks. Enjoy the roast and pranks. No successor yet, past the antacids. One with tendencies loquacious, witty, sharp, perspicacious. Initha, CRT, crut. I have a dictionary, but who knew this would be contagious? We would be remiss not to thank Anne. She keeps Dan calm, focused as our point man. She's Dan's beta blocker. Beautiful and Ilva-Soccer. As a game plan, I suggest Saipan, Japan, and Bhutan.
So when I was asked to speak, I thought a lot about what I want to talk about today. And I decided to focus on the advice Dan gives about work and life. I can honestly say Dan has given me advice from the very first day I met him. Most of it was good. So I want to share a story with you all. To be honest, I kind of debated about sharing this one, and you'll understand why I did. So when I was going through the CFMC interview process, the final interview was with Dan. The interview was scheduled on a Monday at 9 a.m. Well, on Sunday night at 11:30 p.m., something else happened that was more important. My daughter was born in San Jose. So I got about an hour of sleep, then went home to get my student and my notes ready to really, collect my thoughts. The interview went well. At the end of it, Dan said, "So tell me more about yourself. Do you have a family?" I was like, yeah, I have a wife and a baby girl. He goes, how old? I did some math in my head, and I told him a few hours, maybe 9. I was super tired, so I really didn't get the math right on that. But Dan stopped, he took off his glasses, and said, what are you doing here? I go, go home, be with your family. I packed my stuff, and I knew I could do it. Like, I just knew. And I was walking out the door, and Dan comes running. And I was like, he's about to improve me. Like, I really thought he was going to tell me not to come back. Instead, though, he said, your wife just experienced the most stressful thing she ever did. I want you to go to Starbucks, get her a tumbler, coffee, and go get her flowers. Let her know your team and you're there for her. So I did that. When I walked back from the hospital room, my wife was just thankful and just even relieved in a way after all that. To this day, she talks about it to all our friends what happened. To this day, she still doesn't know what's in my name. And I bet you're all thinking she knows that now. That's where you're wrong, my friends. So my daughter has a ballet recital, and tonight they have mandatory dress rehearsals. So this is all of us together. We're in this together. But to me, that small gesture really shows that leadership starts with caring about people first. He's been clear that our careers matter to him, but so do our families. He doesn't just want us to succeed at work, he wants us to succeed at every aspect of our lives. Dan has this thing, he actually has a lot of them, but this one's actually good. Impact attracts resources. And tonight, Dan, the resources aren't just grants or investment. They're the people who inspired, mentored, and all of that she brought together because of the impact he had on our lives. So Dan, thank you for believing in all of us, and just thank you for believing in me.
Sorry, I had to put my imaginary time. Good evening, everyone. Buenas tardes a todos. My name is Karina with a K. People always spell it with a C, it's with a K. As I look back on the past 13 years, one of the things I appreciate most about your leadership, Dan, is the way you encourage me to grow, challenge myself, and find my voice. You always encourage me to speak up and share my perspective, and made me feel that my voice mattered. Looking back, that may have been a risky decision because once I found my voice, I definitely used it quite a bit. Thankfully, you always listened with patience, kindness, and respect. As a Latina, you helped me realize that my heritage was never something to hide or be ashamed of. It was something to celebrate and be proud of, even with my accent. That is a lesson I will carry with me for the rest of my life and my career. Your belief in me helped me believe in myself. Because of your encouragement and support, I've grown not only professionally, but personally as well. I want to thank you for giving a proud Mexican immigrant the opportunity to do meaningful work in the community she loves. When I started 13 years ago, over a decade, I was the youngest one here at the Community Foundation. Somewhere along the way, that quietly stopped being true. I'm no longer the youngest one. But the years have been well spent. It's been an incredible privilege to grow alongside CFMC. The organization has changed tremendously since my first day. And that transformation is a reflection of your vision, your leadership, and your commitment to making a difference. That's my
Thank you for believing in me, for living with purpose, and for the legacy you leave behind. Congratulations on your retirement, Dan. You will be greatly missed, but your legacy will continue to inspire all of us for years to come. I wish you all the happiness retirement brings, but knowing you retirement probably just means having more time to come up with new ideas for improving CFMC and spreading our communities. Congratulations, Dan, and thank you for everything. Mil gracias.
When the board chair is young enough to be your daughter, when Vanessa, our administrative coordinator, who I work with very closely every day, is young enough to be my granddaughter, when I'm preparing a talk like this, and the only nervousness is whether my hearing aid will cause feedback in the sound system. We're good. When I have more doctors than I have hair, I think that's important. And lastly, when I lie in bed at night, mentally composing material for my retirement dinner. So believe me, that happened. Whenever I get a chance to recognize top leaders, 29-year CEO, the only predecessor, because there's only been two of us, would you please stand up, Todd? At some juncture, I was not going to match 29 years, and because that would have me at about 83, and so that's probably not appropriate for me to be in this position. I would like to thank all the speakers. This was really, really heartfelt, very warm. Some people don't know what 5 minutes means, but that's but thank you all very much. I got to tell you, it's actually, it's humbling, it's kind of embarrassing, but you know, here we are. It's deeply, deeply appreciated, so thank you very much. I've been to some retirement dinners lately, and this was my only one, but I've been to some lately, and they all wait till the end to thank their spouse. And then they get highly emotional and can barely get through it. So I decided I'm going to start with Ann Ellis-Hyper. She's just a really, really remarkable person, and creative and talented in ways that all of you may not really know, but you may know coming up even more so in the future. But Ann, thank you. That's all I can say is just thank you. You're absolutely passing the light of my life. Thank you very much. And I don't know, did he remind you of me at all? I want to thank Darren, Carrie, and Maria. This has been one nice thing about retirement is that we're all here together, and this is it's a rare treat. You may not know that Darren is the reason that I'm here. He was as an enlisted man. He went through the DLI. And I was single back then and would come out and visit him and wondered even, like, gosh, I wonder if there's a community foundation here. And that was how my first communication with Todd, because then I sent him an email after I had visited with Darren. And so thank you, Darren, for enlisting and getting into a language program, and because it's changed my life all for the better. So Elsa, thank you very much. You're a remarkable chair. I want to thank other board members that are here. I want to thank past board members. I also want to say the staff is just remarkable at the Community Foundation. I get a lot of credit. The work that's done
done by 27 other people. So we're a function of the org chart, I suppose, but it is really amazing. And I want to, thank Janet, Michael, and Karina. It's really one of the most rewarding aspects of my work life is watching people join our organization and then see their talents emerge and see them grow and see the impact that they create. And I think Christine Dawson is one of those people as well. So thank you very much. Ron and Susan, Kurt, that was really nice. It was very heartfelt. Jimmy, hey Jimmy, it was very nice. We wanted people to have fun in their remarks, and so I'm really glad that they were able to do that. So there was a reference to this table over here that looks marginally reputable. This is the League of California Community Foundations table, all right? There's more sitting. So she's the CEO of the League of California Community Foundations, and I chaired the search committee, so I think she's here feeling like this is her last obligation to actually be nice to me. All right. Nancy Linares, previously referenced as the former CEO of Community Foundation Santa Cruz County. He's the first person in California to reach out to me when it was announced that I was hired for this position, and I'll never forget that, Max. Thank you. Thank you very much. John Cavar, a badly dressed young man over here, formerly of the California Community Foundation and one of my true lifelong friends. Thank you so much for traveling up here and being part of this. The tall guy over here is James Head. And if I'm the point guard, he's the center of the league team. So there was some reference to legislative work. Oh, by the way, Susan True, we met with a legislator, and I was afraid for 3 days after being in the room with Susan True. So that was really something, and it was really great. But there were a lot of, you may not know, one of the heart and soul of our business model is our donor advised funds. And they were under deep threat by some state regulation that was somewhat misguided. But James and I were actually on the league, we were at the forefront, the spear point of trying to educate and push back on this legislation. And there were actually 3 rounds of this that we had to work on, and James was in some extremely tough meetings and negotiations, and we worked on that together, and I'll never forget that, James. Thank you very much. James was the CEO of the East Bay Community Foundation. All right, I should say that. So there's a lot of past chairs scattered throughout the room. They've been a great source of support. David Armanasco was previously referenced, chaired the search committee that hired me. So I've been forever grateful. He's told me to stop thanking him, but I can't help myself. I just keep going. And there's so many of you, fund holders and friends, that are here. So I made my first visit to Monterey County in 2004 and felt an immediate connection. So much so that I wondered if there was a community foundation, and this was my first contact with Todd. What I couldn't know then was that this opportunity would present itself and how deeply I would come to appreciate and enjoy our county's beauty, diversity of people, and cultures. The strength of the Community Foundation is that word community. It is about the power of philanthropy and the people behind it, people who work together to make life better for all of our residents. It's been my honor to be in a position that facilitates connections between donors, nonprofits, and the people they serve, to be responsive when disaster strikes, to lead a team of dedicated professionals, and work with boards who let me be me, and believe so strongly in our mission. We've been able to grow significantly and expand our reach and impact. Scholarships were mentioned, the Salinas Inclusive Economic Development Initiative, SIDE, Thrive Grants, Community Impact Investing, the Center for Nonprofit Excellence. Hi, Susie, I saw you come in, we didn't get a chance to speak. And of course, Monterey County Gives, which last year topped a whopping $17 million. Bradley Zeeb is here, the founder and CEO of the Monterey County Weekly, and we both acknowledge that neither of us could have predicted that Monterey County Gives would ever reach these heights. When we first started working together in 2010 on Gives, we raised about $600,000, and we thought it could never get any bigger than that. And then as it kept growing, we kept saying it could never get any bigger than that. And then last year, it went from about 14.7 million, 14.5 million to 17.1 million. Absolutely great. But all this is only possible because of all of you. I thoroughly enjoyed being here, and I wrote this before Susan, being your point guard, directing traffic and facilitating success, watching the powerful outcomes we've achieved together. The CFMC will continue to grow and thrive. Growing the foundation's assets provides more resources to generate greater impact. My time here will eventually be viewed in a continuum. There will be more CEOs. At least that's the rumor, Kathleen. And each will put their stamp on this remarkable organization. It's wonderful to be ending my work life in the job I've enjoyed most with the greatest people I could imagine, and the deep satisfaction that together we've made Monterey County a better place for all its people. Thank you very much.
I'm glad he thinks he can be my dad. He was pretty young, but he would have been a great dad. Thanks, Darren, for sharing those lovely thoughts. So, Dan, thank you. Please help me thank our speakers for sharing their thoughts tonight. You may know that several folks today made donations to Thrive under your name. These gifts will support great work in the areas of housing stability, educational attainment, workforce development, and mental health. Your gift from the board, we're not going to give it to you until he actually leaves, so board members, be awaiting the ask. But today, staff have a little something to give you. So as I give this to you, I don't know, do you think you have a clue of what it may be? Anne, are you ready to go with it? But with success comes sacrifice, and we appreciate all the personal time you've dedicated to the foundation and our community, and we thank Anne for her understanding, her patience, and commitment. As you transition to retirement, we hope you will enjoy these and are able to take some time to explore the We know your impact will continue to ripple throughout Monterey County for generations to come. We are profoundly grateful for your service, inspired by your example, and honored to celebrate you tonight. Please join me again in thanking Dan Baldwin for his leadership, his friendship, his unwavering commitment to this community, and for showing us what it truly means to be here for good. Congratulations on an extraordinary career. We wish you joy, adventure, and every happiness in the years ahead. And we have one more special VIP message, so let's...
1, 2, 3. Yeah, keep it. You got it.
Darren, I don't know if you're gonna like 2 more roommates, but I'm pretty sure he's gonna be at your house, and we're gonna be you. So, Dan wanted to have a little bit of fun. So you'll see that there are these little freezer bags in front of you. Everybody have one? Go ahead and move your finger through it. All right. Make sure you hold on to it, please. And then with the other hand, you're going to tear the bottom layer. And then just the bottom layer. If you try to pull it all apart, it's going to fall apart. And once you pull it, I want you to throw it in the air. So everybody pull the bottom layer off. Let's press it. All right. And run!
Elsa, Dad. Okay. Come.